I finally saw the movie Immaculate this week, the 2024 Sydney Sweeney Catholic horror joint. It's a wild ride, and I hope we get to it on this show someday soon. I won't spend too much time on that film because that's not the movie we said we'd talk about for this episode, but I will say that I think Immaculate has an interesting take on the classic line of Western horror movies that deal with Christian moral mysticism. What I found intellectually engaging about Immaculate is how it reframes the good and the evil through humanism. Can humanity actually achieve moral righteousness if it is serving something other than humans? From The Omen to The Exorcist to the Ed and Lorraine Warren cinematic universe, and even just a load of vampire films, too, Catholicism in Western horror films has been the fulcrum on the seesaw of good and evil. Satan bad, Christ good. Put a little holy water on it and walk it off. Healthcare is cheap in Christian mythology. So while Immaculate was a good movie, doing a couple of interesting new things, it's still in the vein of Western Catholic horror. What's really interesting to me is when we land on Japanese Catholic horror. We covered Jigoku from 1960 way back in episode 48. That movie deals directly with levels of hell and eternal damnation, but with a fucked up, kick-ass Japanese twist. And this week, we got the underrated, like so much so that I had not heard of it, 1968 noirish ghost story, The Living Skeleton, directed by Hiroshi Matsuno. Everyone on board a freighter is murdered by pirates, and 3 years later, something is haunting those killers and thieves. Simple enough, but at the heart of this movie is the church and Father Akashi, who symbolizes the classic Christian ideal of good and evil. I think it's so interesting to see a priest in a Japanese film because the movie doesn't really deal with Christian folklore, but it does use the church as a symbol for safe haven, as a sort of charmed fortress against evil forces. And Father Akashi, a true shepherd, a father, Christian terms for the Lord. It's not that Eastern religions are without binary symbology. The yin yang is probably the most famous icon of duality in the world, but it's not necessarily just about good and evil, not the way Catholicism is. Duality is the framework, one might even say the skeleton of this movie's themes. The man with the burned face, the identical twin sisters, the love me or leave me romance, even a Scooby-Doo level unmasking that left me shook. Hi, Cecil.
Hi, Jeffrey.
You and I went on a cruise once. Would you do it again? Would you go on a cruise again?
Oh, cruises. Oh, man. I thought about that as soon as this movie started. I was like, is this a cruise? I mean, it's not a pleasure cruise.
No.
Would I go on a cruise again? Sure. It's not my aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little too pre-packaged for
Yes.
me. You know, like when I'm on the boat, I love the idea of it. I love the idea of travel at sea. Like, what's more interesting and romantic than that? Who knows who you might meet on board a cruise ship?
Uh-huh.
However, I think in reality, just turns into a lot of waiting in lines and hand sanitizer.
Yes. Yes.
And you had me at 24-hour buffet.
Uh-huh.
But when I actually look at the food on the 24-hour buffet, I find I'm like, oh no, oh dear.
Oh my.
Seasoning has not entered into any of this food, into any
No.
of this food.
No, it is one level up from Hampton Inn buffet.
Cisco
Uh
eggs.
oh, I I feel the same way about a cruise vacation as I do about a camping vacation, in that
Okay,
I'm never going to initiate doing that. I'm never going to be the
sure,
person who says, "Hey y'all, let's do a cruise," or "Hey y'all, let's go camping." But if I was with especially a group of people
sure.
that were all like if me, you, and Symphony, Joseph, and Meg, and Disparition, everybody, we were just like, somebody in the group was like, let's go camping, and everyone seemed excited by it, I would
Yeah,
do it because I thought
yeah,
that's 3 days. We'll figure it out. It'll just be fun. If y'all were all like, let's go on a cruise together, I'd probably make it happen.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I'm not gonna initiate. Like you, it's not my style. It's not my
yeah.
aesthetic. Yeah.
It's also the idea of like once you're on the boat, you can't leave
Yeah.
until they tell you can. And even then, sometimes they're like, oh no, the weather is really choppy, so you can't leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I certainly, if I went on another cruise again, I would look for something like the Joko cruise that we were invited to be
Oh
part
yeah,
of.
that was really fun and amazing because it was very specifically packaged for like a section of people that were really excited to be there, and it was
Absolutely.
a lot of fun.
Similar interests, right? Yeah, we're all
Yeah,
kind of nerds and like, yeah, we like tabletop and RPGs,
yeah,
and
and
we like Amy
music
Mann and
and
Steven Universe and just
yeah.
all that shit. Yeah. I would not choose this type of cruise, which is on a freighter.
I don't think this is a cruise ship,
I
Jeffrey.
don't think it is either, but
They're like transporting gold bullion.
they are, but also like Yoriko, who's on this ship, is there with her husband, and she's like
Uh-huh.
dressed like she's on like having just a nice she doesn't dress like she's not dressed like she's there for work. And I guess it's
Yeah.
just a thing where it's not a cruise. Her husband is the ship's doctor. So
Yes.
she's just getting to ride with him.
I know,
Um
which, as we learn, that's bad luck at sea.
mhm.
So many, so like the seafaring people have so many superstitions about what should and should not happen on the sea. And
I
apparently,
get it.
bringing your going a honeymoon and like work and honeymoon time on a ship, that is verboten.
Um this movie definitely supports that with solid evidence that you shouldn't do
Yes.
that.
Yep. Now, I think it's important to note this movie is a wild ride.
Uh-huh.
And I know we say spoilers ahead before every episode, but really, this movie has so, this movie has so many twists and turns.
Uh-huh.
I was gagged. I was absolutely gagged by quite a few of them. Um, so spoilers ahead if
Uh,
you ever want to see this movie, because this movie is wild.
as of recording, this is only up on Criterion Collection if you have access to that. It might be on your local library or something like that, like their streaming services. But I watched it on Criterion, and it's a remarkable film. It truly is. It is,
Gorgeous.
as you said, it's a wild ride. It's super gorgeous. It's you can see its DNA in later movies, and
Oh, for sure.
um yeah, we'll get into it, right?
Yeah.
Let's start with the Dragon King, which is the name of our ship
The
at sea.
intro,
Hmm.
the prologue.
The prologue, the cold open. We've got the Dragon King ship at sea, and immediately what we see is a group of people. We just see their feet and their
Yeah,
hands. One
I
shot at their
know.
feet, and their feet are all chained together, and then
Yeah.
their hands are high in the air, and they're
It's like, oh,
being
this is not a
kettled.
pleasure cruise.
Mm-mm. It could
Or
be.
maybe it
Depends
was, but
on
it is
which
not anymore.
Depends on which type of pleasure you have that you're into. But yeah, they all get kettled, and what we realize is there are pirates with Tommy
Yeah.
guns on the ship.
Oh,
There are
yeah.
also people in ship uniforms with the pirates, so we sort of
Yeah.
understand there was a straight up mutiny that happened
It
of
was an
some sort.
inside job.
Inside job. Yeah, not a mutiny, an inside job is ultimately what it was. Um, Captain is like pleading with them, but you
Yeah.
as the scene goes on, all of these people are going to get killed.
Oh, yeah.
Yuriko is the woman in white, the woman who wore white,
The
the woman in white.
bride wore white.
Yep, that's it. That's the phrase I was looking for. She's like pleading with the main bad guy who he's Harvey Dent, right? Like he's Two-Face.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got
Yeah.
like regular face, and then he's got fully burned off face on the other side, and he wears these sunglasses.
And you never really see him up close in this
No.
intro. You only see like his giant 1960s sunglasses with her reflected in them,
Mm-hmm.
or it's always kind of like just his gun,
Mm-hmm.
and you can kind of see his face, but you know he is a bad dude.
He is. This is Tanuma, who is kind of the head of the pirates, head of
Yeah.
the heisters, the thieves, the terrorists. Anyways, as she's grabbing his leg, like pleading, like please, because her husband gets shot and he's not
Yeah.
dead, but he's been shot by one of the pirates, and she's like, please, please, mercy, mercy, and then he just turns around, shoots her, and then they all open fire with Tommy guns on everybody.
Yeah. It's interesting, like for so much gun violence in this, and it is like it's very like Tommy guns, and it's really interesting. Like the way it's shot is like you're always like the guns are like in your face, so you really feel like you are kind of being kettled, like the passengers, the crew of the ship. It's like really stark kind
Yeah.
of imagery. Um, no blood, no bullet holes.
No.
It's all very like, oh, you got me.
Yeah, it
Oh,
totally.
ew. It's listen, this movie is a wild ride.
Uh-huh.
I think you said Scooby-Doo-esque. That is the perfect way to describe this. This is like, hey, you want to play pirates?
Yeah.
That's
It's
the level we're working with here.
when we talk about when decades start and when they end, this is 1960 is the 1950s.
Yeah.
So when you
Oh,
think of
yeah, it
when you think of
feels
the
more 50s than
60s,
60s. Yeah.
when you think of the 60s, what you're thinking of is like 1963 to 72 or so. And so, yeah, this movie feels very 50s in its acting style.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that cartoonish. The drunkard is like he is he is playing the character of a drunk rather than
Oh,
playing a
yeah.
drunk. Um,
Yeah.
so
Oh, I
yeah,
just
this caricaturish acting
when
throughout.
people start getting bumped off, like literally there's one dude who just like runs screaming, arms flailing into the night. But it's also like the style is very fit, like men in suits, women in beautiful dresses and kimonos, and like it's all very like, and literally the soundtrack is like fucking Thunderball. It
Yeah,
is James Bond jazz,
I wrote jazzy noir under the
jazzy
when
noir.
the title card was happening. The
Yeah,
music is that kind of like hard hitting, driving, dramatic jazz
yeah.
of that era, and that suggests you're watching a crime thriller, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm yeah. This feels like a Maltese Falcon type of thing, right? Like
Oh,
we're getting a real
absolutely.
Dashiell Hammett in this movie.
Yeah, very pulpy,
So pulpy.
but like
Um,
even more pulpy than Dashiell Hammett. Like this is shoot 'em up, stick 'em up,
yeah.
maybe with some bats and skeletons thrown in on the side.
Oh, the wet bat, Cecil, the wet bat.
But we'll get there.
Okay, it's 3 years later, and now we're at this little seaside village. There is a Christian church, and we see a funeral being held, and this is Father Agashi, uh, who's just delivering rites to a person being buried in the churchyard. And we see who we think is Yuriko, because that's the woman's name at the beginning, same
Yeah.
actress, looks the exact same,
Yep.
but he calls her Saiko. So Saiko is like distracted by a steamship horn and like
Oh
drops the
yes.
flowers. And what's bothering you, Saiko? But
She's like, I don't know. I'm just kind of tired. Nothing. I'm all
yeah,
right.
I don't know. We're gonna
I just want
learn.
to ring this bell.
Yeah,
It's the only thing that makes me happy. I'm just gonna ring this bell.
she is. We're gonna learn that she is the identical twin sister of Yuriko.
Yes.
So that
Yes.
explains a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
And she admits that she's always had like some sort of psychic link with her twin sister, which
yeah.
is why like the disappearance of the Dragon King and her sister and everybody on board as far as we know at this point
Hmm.
is really freaking her out because she feels like she can still feel her sister somewhere. Is she dead? Is she not dead? And because in our prologue, it was all how pew 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 bang bang. We see her get shot point blank, but
Yeah.
it is mysterious what actually happened to her.
Hmm. Now we have now we're gonna meet Mochizuki. Mochizuki
Mochizuki.
just
Oh,
low he's a
that young
townie.
cad,
Yeah.
that young scamp.
He's
He's a nice
adorable.
guy, but he's a good time guy.
Yeah. Honestly, if you lived in like a sleepy little village, you would be lucky to hook up with Mochizuki. Like that's a great partner. He seems
Yeah.
awesome. He is not an ideal person by any stretch of the
Oh,
imagination, but he's not a problem. He's a little
we,
grumpy and gruff sometimes.
yeah. His idea of a fun day off of work is to speedboat around the bay as fast
Yep.
as he can. And honestly, can't argue with it.
And any fault you find with him, it might be made up by the fact that he has a collie named Johnny.
Oh my God, this dog. Oh, the dog. I forgot about the dog. Johnny.
Johnny. What a
Uh,
great name for a dog.
and it's like a lassie dog
It
too.
is. It's full on collie.
Yeah,
He asks the father. He asks Father Akashi to, he's like, hey, we assume Saiko works at the church, that he had taken her in at some point in time,
sure.
and she works for the church, works for the priest. And so he asks, he's like, hey, can she have tomorrow afternoon off? I'd love to take her out. And he's like, sure thing, bud. They're all chummy. Everybody's nice.
Yeah,
He went fishing, Mochizuki did, and brought them like yellowfin tuna.
I know. How nice is that?
Yeah, they're all talking like,
And then,
maybe we should eat
and,
this sashimi right now.
right? And they do that thing where they're like, I know I'm bringing you a gift, but I can't compare to your fishing skills. And he's like, no, 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 I can't compare to. So I was like, are they in a throuple? What's going on?
I would like that. That'd be great. I'd like to see that
What's
film.
happening?
Okay, so
Vroom vroom on the speedboat.
yeah, hold on just a second. I have some party bus going by right now. Okay, so they take the motorboat out racing. They also grab some scuba gear.
Saeko is like whatever blues she had the day before, man, as soon as she gets behind the wheel of that speedboat, gone.
Ooh.
She is living and doing fucking donuts
She's
in
like,
this
I'm so scared,
speedboat
I'm
at
so
like
scared. Give me the wheel. Wrenching it hard
oh
left.
my, I was like, Madame, you are a hazard, I think. But they eventually find a nice secluded spot where they can
Mhm.
kind of make out. And Mochizuki, and he's like, we should really tell the father that we're dating. We should tell
Yes.
him sometime,
And she's a little iffy because this is starting to get into territory of like, are we in a serious relationship? Will we get married? And she's like,
Yeah,
I have to tell you, I may never leave the church. I might not get
yeah,
married, honestly. I don't know. He gets a little bit huffy about it, whatever. But she says, I never met my father. My mother died when I was young. And then my sister, my twin sister, dot, dot, dot. Like, she doesn't
yeah.
continue on what happened there.
Who knows?
But then they go scuba diving and
Oh
they
dear.
see,
Oh
okay, let's see. They see some coral. They see
yeah,
some like, I think those are like some kind of flounder, these really beautiful
yeah. Little
flounders,
fishies.
little fishies. I think there's probably some they see jellyfish. They
Yeah. Oh, they
see a
definitely see they're holding hands while they scuba
mhm,
dive, which is very nice.
yeah. They totally see a bunch of skeletons chained to the ocean floor and to each other. And they
Uh-huh.
also, I want to say they saw like a pufferfish and maybe some clownfish. So
Uh-huh.
those are the
That's
fun
it.
things you'll see around a reef.
That's it. Welcome to our island tours. Keep your eye open for the living skeletons underneath the water.
These skeletons were so interesting design wise
Yeah.
because they have a very normal looking, like medical class anatomy 101 skeleton up by the professor's desk, right?
Yep.
Except for the skull. The skull looks almost like folk art.
Yeah. Like it has like Day of the Dead kind
Yeah,
of
it's like
look to
Calavera
it.
sort of thing. Yeah.
But
Uh mhm.
now I gotta say, Jeffrey, for a
Yeah.
for a movie entitled The Living Skeleton, these skeletons are not living. These skeletons do nothing. They just sort of, you know what they remind me of? They remind me of the skeletons that you find inside fish tanks, like connected to
Yeah.
the little sunken treasure skeletons.
Yeah. Yeah. That's totally it. They just serve to kind of creep people out.
Yep.
There is a thing about this movie though where it walks the fine line. I think ultimately this movie is like this is grounded in realism. Like there's nothing
Sure.
supernatural happening in this film. That's sort of a spoiler. Other than like some vague
We see some
super like
ghosty things. We hear a lot of ghosty things.
but that's sort of explained away on the ship later.
I know.
And so like everything that you hear or see ghosty can be explained through realism. The only thing that I would say there's
Although realism,
Yeah,
Jeffries.
yeah. Oh, you know what I mean. But yeah, like founded in like a thing that sort of generally
Sounds like it
makes sense.
should make sense.
Yeah.
Like I've taken my blood and pumped it into my dead wife's
Oh, the
body.
science is wacky, evil science shit.
What? To
Yeah, the
revive her
acid
from
that
the
he
dead,
built,
she's a living mummy?
the acid that he makes.
Oh
Yes.
my God. The
But
algae acid?
oh yes, but I mean the like in terms of like ghosts, like supernatural horror, like
Yeah.
the evil science aside. But I would say there is a little bit of like, oh, my sister and I have like a or a telepathic connection. But
Sure.
honestly, I've met twins that say I have had weird feelings about my twin before. So,
Yeah.
um, who knows? That feels
Yeah.
still
I mean,
real to me.
like this movie definitely has the feeling of like cursed rather than haunted. If you see the,
Yes.
like the distinction there, like every single person in this movie is cursed,
Yeah.
but not necessarily haunted.
Yeah. So they're super disturbed by the skeletons, obviously, and they get the GTFO. And then now it's a
Yeah.
dark and stormy night back at the bar that he works at. I guess he runs like the tavern in town.
That seems appropriate
I
for
think
him.
that's
He's
that.
kind of like Roadhouse dude.
Yeah, yeah. Um, he's kind of
However,
doing. Oh, go ahead.
he does a full 180. He's like, those skeletons we saw, that was probably just seaweed. That hallucination that we both shared when we hallucinated the same thing. Yeah, I don't. I'm. You know what? I'm going to go back out fishing tomorrow just to prove that I'm not scared of underwater skeletons.
He goes full man in a horror movie. Uh,
Yes, he does.
I don't think you saw what you thought you saw. Yeah, it's probably nothing. We're good. Stop worrying.
Nothing more 1950s, 60s than that.
Mm-mm. But she is, she kind of was.
She is shook.
She's in full like, hey, it was 3 years ago on a night just like tonight
Uh-huh.
here in Yokohama
Yeah.
Harbor, and he's like, well, didn't your sister's ship sink because of a typhoon or a storm? And she's like, nobody knows. That's the thing.
Unknown.
No one knew. No one has found the ship, seen the ship.
Yep.
And she was like, but now I'm going through this thing where I feel like my sister is calling me from the sea.
She's close by.
And then, whoa,
Foghorn.
you just hear boat.
Boat.
That
Yes.
when when Jillian and I lived in Sunset Park, we could always hear the boats in the Upper Bay, and they all had that same tone. They all played the same pitch. We just imagined that what the
Yeah.
tugs were saying were boat.
It's very
That's what we'd
Pikachu.
say. Yeah,
It's like everything just says the name of what it
just
is.
says its own name. Yeah.
Squirrels say squirrel.
Yep.
Bears say bears.
Boat say
Boats say boat.
boat. So
Now
I
wait,
mean,
it's important.
good
So we're
timing,
getting
though.
into we're getting into the spooky shit here, and this
Yeah.
is where this. I am so glad we watched this movie. I'm so glad we got this for an aquatic scare. Do you think fog is scary? Because have I got a movie for you?
Mhm.
This movie has more ambiance atmosphere than it knows what to do with. It is long, dark hallways lit by a single candle in the fog.
Yeah.
Fog of every kind.
Every kind. I
Of every kind.
oh no. I love I think this is a perfect film in the sense that 80 to 90 minutes,
Yeah.
it stays on point.
Yep.
It is beautiful. It makes solid artistic choices visually. When it shows more than it tells. There's not I
Sure.
mean, it's not
It is all
sparse.
action.
It's not sparse in its dialogue, but it is very little dialogue. And not in a way that it feels like this is, oh, it's a movie that's trying not to say too much or whatever. It just,
Yeah.
this thing fucking clips along. It's
It's
beautiful.
like a
It's
pulp. It's like a
stunning.
pulp novel.
It is. And this is like the type of movie I want to watch when you know, that feeling when you're like, I want to watch something, but I don't know what I want to watch.
Yeah.
And this would be one of the movies that top 10 movies I would put on a playlist like that.
Oh, for sure. And also, you don't need to pay too close attention
No.
because the plot is bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, I don't know. I think I kind of get it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get up and make popcorn or whatever, just throw this movie on. You'll come back and you're like, oh, Uh-oh.
Yeah.
And you'll catch up.
You will have no problems whatsoever. I feel like you could, if you don't, even if you don't know Japanese, I feel like you could turn off the subtitles and get a pretty good idea as to
Probably
what's
get it.
going on. Yeah.
Because it's almost more gangster film
Mm-hmm.
than it is horror film.
Yep.
But where those two meet, that's like, it's kind of the act two, act three, or whatever. That's when I was like, this is dope as fuck.
Yeah. You need the opening act and the closing act explanations of what's happening.
True.
That's where the words are very important. But yeah, everything in between just I don't know, it shows it. It's super great. I love it for that. But this freighter is out on the horizon. She's like, you know what? Give me the keys to your boat. I'm going out there.
In the middle of a storm. I was like,
In the
what is
middle of the
happening?
storm, middle of the night, she gets on a boat. And they probably been
Yeah.
drinking too. Who knows? And she gets her
Yeah.
ass out there and climbs aboard this ship.
Uh-oh.
She can hear wailing and crying down, but before she does that, she finds the ship's log, the captain's log.
Well, thank God.
The name of my high
That
school
is an
newspaper,
important
by the
plot
way.
point.
Yeah.
And also, like, the captain's log in this movie, I think of a captain's log being like, day, time, X amount of passengers, maintenance report. This is like, dear diary.
Diary. The cook was really rude today, and I
They
don't
were
trust
making,
him. I haven't trusted him since he got on board.
yeah. And this captain has a lot to write about because he knows that there is mutiny afoot
Yes.
because of the gold bullion that they are transporting.
Yeah.
And he names names.
Yes.
And those names will be very important later in this movie.
Yeah, he has bad premonitions about the ship's cook from the get-go. He's like, so you get the sense that he was writing this stuff just as the pirates were making their presence known, but before they
Yeah.
had kettled everybody or captured everybody. But
He also
yeah.
has the unlucky superstition thing about the ship's doctor bringing his
Uh-huh.
honeymoon newly bride wife on board, which apparently is some sort of seafaring no-no.
Mm-hmm. So
Cursed.
so we get the sense that obviously the pirates took the gold bullion, killed everybody aboard, and then skipped
Yep.
town.
Yep.
Also, there are fucking bats everywhere, so we've set up that there are bats all over the ship.
That
You
these
know how
bats,
much I love bats. I love bats so much, and these bats
they're
are
so cute.
hilarious. They're very cute.
But these are anything but bats. These are like rubber on string.
They are Halloween decorations just being
Oh my God.
they
Just flopping
attached,
around.
they tied them to the ceiling fan and set it on 3.
Spun it around. Just spun it around. But I love the idea that it's like whenever with the foghorn, the bats, they don't do anything. The fog itself, like all these things are very atmospheric. So like it's not like this is not John Carpenter's The Fog, in which
Yeah.
when the fog rolls in, you better watch out because somebody's about ready to get got.
Yeah.
This is more like eerie premonitions or omens kind of bats.
Yes. Yeah, the bats don't actually do anything, I don't believe, to anybody in this movie. They just scare
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
They scare people and drive a few people close to madness.
Yeah. Well, we hear the sound of a woman crying somewhere in the ship, and Saiko goes down into the berths to find what's happening, and
Oh,
she's
this sequence is so scary.
it's so scary because like alone on
Yeah.
just a drifting ship with no
Yep.
lights and no people,
Yeah.
and you hear a woman crying, and you just only have a candle to light your way.
Uh-huh. We talk about how like in modern times movies have gotten so dark in the digital age because digital film
Mhm.
picks up so much differently than like film.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie, I think, uses black and white film in such interesting ways because it is a really dark film,
Mm-hmm.
but you still see everything that's happening. It's like the choice to be dark.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really beautiful the way when the little pockets of light that you do get on the screen really makes the characters feel isolated or enclosed, or I don't know. It's really spooky and
Yeah.
it's pretty dope.
Yeah. Well, she gets down there and finds a room, and when she opens the door, there is, or pulls back the curtain, there is Yoriko. Oh shit. And Yoriko just
Oh
has
no.
like dull face. Like, and
Yeah.
what I love about this is because we're gonna find out this isn't a ghost of Yoriko,
Yeah.
but it gives the vibe of a ghost, right? There's something about a ghost
Yeah.
that has this disaffected look on its face. It's
Haunted.
haunted. And maybe not, maybe visually present in the meat space, but not knowing that it's in the meat space. Do you know what I
Oh
mean? Like
yeah.
it's
Oh,
still
for
behind
sure.
the veil, so it can't react to what it sees. It's just going through
Yeah.
motions. And so that's kind of the look on Yoriko's face here. And then Saiko is overwhelmed and passes
Yeah,
out.
she is. Yeah.
But she shows back up. The father and Mochizuki back at the church. They've
They're
been,
praying as hard as they can pray.
yeah. Dear God, make me a bird so I can fly far, far away.
Yep.
I forget
You
the
know,
I forget what prayer
I
they're doing.
know I took my girlfriend out on the stormy seas of my power boat,
Mm-hmm.
and she got onto the spooky ship, and she's probably dead, but you know what? All we can do is pray.
Mm-hmm. But the wind blows the door of the church open,
Oh yeah.
and then there's the wind and the rain and the storm, and they run out there, and there's Saiko standing in the storm. Now, what did you think when we got to this scene? What did you think had happened here? What did you think this was Saiko or Yoriko? What did you think was the
Oh,
dynamic happening?
I thought Eureka is gone because we see her get shot. I was like,
Yeah.
what? That can't be. So I thought it's Seiko and she's just catatonic. So
Mm-hmm.
she's made it back from Spooky Boat.
Mm-hmm.
It's that I was less surprised about. It's more of what she chooses to do next that I was very confused by. They kind of tuck her in bed, they put her
Mm-hmm.
in bed, and the next day she's just gone.
Yeah.
She leaves them a note. No, I don't think she even leaves them a note. She just leaves.
She
And I
mails
was
them a
like,
postcard later or leaves,
yeah,
gets a message to them somehow.
that's like I'm in the devil's grip. I'm off the coast somewhere. Please
Yeah.
do not follow me. I am doing nefarious things.
Uh-huh.
XOXO.
I sort of wondered if Yoriko's ghost had inhabited Saiko here. Like that maybe
Ooh,
Yoriko's ghost was up to no good
kind of
and
like
was gonna
it's like
do some
yeah,
creepy shit through Saiko. Because Saiko, when she runs into Mochizuki's arms out in the rain outside the church, she has the same look on her face that her
yeah,
sister's
yeah.
body did. Also, when they bring her in to get her warm in bed and get her nourished that night, there's a just the funniest moment. I laughed so hard
Oh
because
my God, this is the
there's a
best.
wet bat just slapping the window. It's
But it's
with
more
both
the
of its
fact
wings,
that
like flap, flap, flap,
they're
flap.
having a normal conversation. They're like, oh, I hope Seiko's okay. A bat. Cut to a bat. Behaving not at all like bats do.
Not at all. In no
Bat?
way.
Bat?
So she goes missing, and the next day they're out looking for her. And then this is a really, I really love this
And then,
transition because
and then,
there's a body of a woman found on the beach,
yes.
and then we see police there and some onlookers, and
Yeah.
they're covering up the body, but we realize that's not Saiko at all.
Yeah. Mochizuki is there and father's there. And he's like, oh, it's not her.
It's not her, so we can keep looking. Then that scene abruptly ends, and we get my Zoom background.
Strippers.
We get uh classy, sexy dancers in a nightclub.
Burlesque,
Yes.
striptease. Like, I'm not, when I say stripper, striptease, I'm talking like Gypsy Rose Lee
Yes.
striptease.
Yes.
Like the good old bump and grind.
Yeah.
Like Bob Fosse striptease.
Uh-huh. Oh my goodness. This
Not
club,
the Nomi
Cecil.
Malone kind of striptease.
This opening shot of these two women on
Yeah.
opposite sides of the screen, both
Just
almost identical
shaking.
look,
Yep.
movement, shape. just everything about them was so similar. And then also the duality.
Yeah.
Duality is constant throughout this movie. It's so
Right?
remarkable how well it does duality without pounding at home, right? Like
Sure.
without, um this isn't like sliding doors or whatever, but
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
this is visually the way it captures duality is so amazing.
Yeah.
And this scene
Like
is
the
so
idea
good.
of doppelgangers,
Hmm.
twins, and also the way these ladies are disaffected.
Hmm.
Like they are dancing at each other, not to each other or for each other or for the audience. It's like shimmy, 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 shimmy.
Yeah.
Now you. But it is, listen, I was like, well, I don't know where this film is going, but you have my interest.
Yes. So now we're gonna see the club owner. I did not catch all of these men's names, so I'm just
Oh
gonna
my
call him
God, there's
club
no
owner
point.
throughout.
Like, no. Act two, the Rogues Gallery.
Yes. So we've got this club owner in a tux, and the movie does this every time we're gonna see a series of other people, mostly men, uh, that we have seen but really haven't seen yet in this film. And
Right.
once we see them, it then does a quick cut, like a half second, like very quick cut of them holding a gun on that ship 3 years earlier.
Yep.
So it lets us know, pirate, dude's a pirate, dude's
Yep.
a pirate.
Yep. Pirate, pirate, pirate. Like gangster, 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 pirate.
Um, his so I think I have this guy's relationship right. This woman approaches him to say they found Rumi's body this morning, which I assume is
Yes.
probably one of the dancers, but also
Yes.
he was sleeping with her.
Yes.
And the woman who approached is his girlfriend
Yes.
or mistress, one of
Uh-huh.
however we do that. And then also at home, he's married.
You know, was it
Yes.
Friday nights for the wives, Saturday nights for the girlfriends, however that
Yeah.
line goes
Yeah,
from
something to that
Goodfellas?
effect. Um,
I love this mistress, she is she's the best. Like
uh-huh.
clearly, if we want to go for like great characters in this film, there's a lot of really fun ones. But she's kind of amazing. She's like, "Oh, I love the fact that like your other girlfriend that you were totally sleeping with died and you skipped her wake to have sex with me. You're so bad. I love it.
Yeah,
You're
she says,
shameless."
yeah, what I love about you is the shamelessness.
Oh,
Yes.
we are in some like, yeah, Dashiell Hammett, was it Jim Thompson kind of like dirty dealing, cross
Uh-huh.
dealing, shady characters.
Uh-huh.
And I am here for it. Because it's
So,
rare I mean, we don't really get like gangster horror.
no.
It is a crossover
Hmm.
for sure. Like, remember Hit List? That was a
Yeah.
gangster horror, like that we did that one early on. But it's not, you kind of get like horror comedy, horror family drama.
Right.
But I love this idea of like people that are bad for a living being at the center. And, you kind of get people that are bad for a living being at the center of a morality tale. Sure.
Yeah.
Bad ends come to bad people, but rarely do bad ends come to bad people via bats and skeletons, you know?
Yep.
And for that, I applaud this movie.
I I started thinking late in this movie with the number of like bats and skeletons in this film that I was like, I feel like they made this movie in November because that's when they could buy up all of the excess
Yes.
at the
Yeah.
overstock at Party
You go to
City.
the Spirit Halloween store and you're like, what have you got
Yeah,
left?
Spirit Halloween, that's right.
Skeletons? Bats? Oh, I
70%
guess
off.
we're going to call it the
Done.
living skeleton, even though there's not a single skeleton even pretends to live in this movie.
Yeah.
But we're like, this is what we got.
Mm-hmm.
So I also love like, oh, we've not even talked about the boat. Like all the scenes above the ship are so clearly not on a ship
Mm-hmm.
because all the exterior shots, like we're talking like bathtub, like toy boat in bathtub level, and somebody's going like splash, 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 splash
Yes.
off to the
Yes.
side. This is the level of special effects. And then cut to the ship, the interiors, and we might be in the choppiest waters on Earth on the exteriors, but inside, everything is plumb level.
Yeah. One of the things before the club owner and girlfriend, before they leave and have that whole conversation about shamelessness, there's another man in the bar that the club owner runs into, and this is the drunk. He runs
Yeah.
into the drunk at his club,
Yeah.
and the
And
drunk,
he's very recognizable from the prologue because
yes,
he is
he's
commedia dell'arte clown level drunk.
yes, he and he kind of tells him, he's like, get the fuck out of here. I thought,
Yeah. I
give me the
paid
buck.
you off years ago.
Yeah, I paid you off years ago,
Like
and
I told you never to, like nothing can ever connect the two of us because we pulled that job.
yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
And he, and through this conversation, we glean that all of the pirates took all of the money they made and
Yep.
split it evenly, and then just went
Hey,
about their merry way.
hey, I mean
And
that's kind of honorable amongst
yeah,
thieves,
yeah,
considering.
and the owner is like, listen, I don't owe you shit. We split the
Yeah.
money evenly. I invested in this business, run the business. It's doing very well. You drank and gambled yours away.
Yep.
Don't shake me down. And what he thinks the drunk is shaking him down with is the drunk's like, hey, I just got to tell you, that doctor on our ship, I saw his wife
Yeah.
today at the train station.
Yeah.
And club
This
owner's like,
see
no, you didn't.
nah, you fuck, come on, man. You got the delirium tremens. Like, which is, that's how it's always I love liminal characters like this, the drunk, the delusional that are kind of 1 foot in sanity, 1 foot in
Mm-hmm.
insanity, that are always kind of the first one to have the premonition of what the fuck is going on.
Yep.
And also makes sense plot wise because they're easy to dismiss by the hard nosed, hard boiled, like no nonsense characters that are like, that makes no, you're just drunk.
Yeah.
But sure enough, we get a kind of cutaway scene in which he's on the train, and you see a woman in white on the train platform,
Uh-huh.
and it's not scary, it's not even spooky, it's just moody.
Yeah. On the ride home, this is where the way Saiko moves around, the scene on the train, with her standing
Yeah.
in the middle of the road, all of that stuff, you very much get vibes of Dark Water, The Ring.
Dark Red. Yeah,
Um,
oh, for sure.
yeah,
Like Japanese do ghost stories. I don't
so
want to say
fucking well.
better, but they're in like they do it right.
Because they're
Like
straight
on a
up
dark and stormy night, you're driving your little 1960s James Bond car with your girlfriend to sleep in your arms, and you see a woman in white just staring
with
you the fuck
but with
down in the
black hair hanging down in
oh
front of her
yeah,
face, just
just
so good.
unperturbed. Oh my God. And especially because this movie is black and white, like it's like I feel like I could eat it with a knife and fork,
Yeah,
you know, because it's film.
yeah. Well, it's clear that Saiko poisons him and his wife somehow, because like he wakes up
Well,
to
she
like
turns the
he's
gas on.
that's what it is.
Yes, I know. It's only there for a second, but like so he tells his girlfriend, his other girlfriend,
Oh,
um, you know what, I'm not in the mood, baby, after seeing this fucking ghost.
yeah.
I gotta go home. Climbs in bed with his wife, gives her the cold shoulder as well. God, sorry, this head cold is making me crazy.
Oh no.
Um, and then he wakes up in the middle of the night. His wife is like dead on the floor, and he's gasping for air. And all we see is like the nozzle of some sort of gas has been
That's
turned
what it
on.
is. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I must have been looking down at notes and
It's
missed
so
the
fast.
yeah.
It's super fast.
Um yeah, and then we're gonna meet here's one name I did get because they say his name a couple times at the start of the scene is Mr. Suji. Mr. Tsuji, who's
Okay.
the fisherman,
Oh
right? He's
yes.
the guy who's out fishing.
Yep.
Also one of the pirates. He sees the ghost ship in the distance and is like,
He
and then
sees the
bats
bats.
attack him.
Uh-oh. But he's like, you know what? I'm gonna go for a deep dive anyway.
Not this guy. No, this is a
Oh,
different
is he a
guy.
different guy? Oh
This
no,
is a
that's oh
different
no.
guy.
That's oh no.
Yeah, yeah. So Mr. Tsuji is he's the one who gets on the train to go home. He like makes a mad dash, gets on the subway to go back
Right.
home. And then this is where we see Yoriko walking up the aisle, and he sees her across the way from
Oh, that's
him.
right. Oh, that's so good.
It's so good. It's so spooky. It is very much like it reminded me of like it drew on the grudge, right? Like when the
Yeah.
elevator, and this happened in Dark Water too, the elevator's going up and through the window you can
Mhm.
see a face. That's
Mhm.
very much what this is like. It is less stylized than those modern horror
Oh, for
classics,
sure.
but it's unsettling. Like like you said,
There's
Cecil, large empty spaces. The
yeah,
emptiness of the train adds
yeah.
to the freakiness of it.
There's also something very David Lynch about this movie. Like the
Hmm.
black and white film, sure, like it's giving me, Elephant Man, Eraserhead kind of, that sort of vibes.
Yep.
But it's also like people that are there and then not there, because the whole thing is that he sees this woman and he remembers her as the woman that was shot and killed on the boat. But the ticket guy's there and he's like, "Hey, was everything all right?" And he looks back, no woman.
Yeah.
So it's that whole thing of like, is it supernatural? Is it not supernatural? Is it all in their heads? Is this psycho? Is this psychological? Maybe in a less weird way than David Lynch, but it is not interested in giving you answers
Yes.
at this point.
Yes.
Not until we get to Scooby Doo Island.
Right. Well, Mr. Tsuji is he brings together these other pirates. So he brings
Yeah.
together club owner and his
Yep.
girlfriend
And yep.
and the drunk.
Yep.
So it's the four of them hanging out playing mahjong and
Yep.
gambling. The drunk is really into the gambling, and it's again interesting with the duality of the drunk keeps talking about all these people he's known who keep making money off of just putting their money in investments and doing really well. And somebody bought a
Sure.
bunch of real estate over here, and now it's worth a whole bunch. And somebody else
Well, that
did
was the
this.
main guy, right?
Yeah,
That
and
he's talking about.
um, oh yeah, he's talking about that, and then and then the drunk is like he wins a hand of mahjong, takes all of their cash, probably comes away 100 yen richer, 50 yen
Yeah.
richer, whatever, and is like, see, even us down and out types, we win in the
He's like,
end.
I'm living large. I'm living so large, I'm going to go take a shower.
Oh, this is the one scene that really is bloody, although it's
That is true.
chocolate sauce in the shower sort of
Yeah.
thing.
It is the anatomy questionable,
Hmm.
but this is definitely very spooky. So he goes in, he's taking a shower, he's having his happy little drunk shower because he just won $50. But sure enough, we see,
Base and frosted glass.
yeah,
Creepy. That's a creepy
yeah,
look.
yeah,
Um, so the other thing is Tsuji back in the parlor sees bats flapping around the window and then just
yeah.
starts pouring himself 3 fingers of,
Yeah, I know, right?
of Satori.
Well, because he knows, like,
Yeah.
it's the omen, it's the premonition. He's like, "Ooh," and I love it. It's like people just break out into like cold fucking sweats whenever they see these or hear these bats.
Yeah. Um, okay. So then he runs into the drunk's been gone for a while. They run into the shower and they just see blood pouring down the drain. And there
Yeah.
he is, like his back turned to them, leaning against the wall, and they turn him around. His mouth is wide open and bloodied, and he collapses to the floor.
Mm, yeah. But it's kind of silly.
It is
It's pretty silly because you can see the actor like looking in the eyes and then looking at where he's gonna fall. And you're like, is he dead? Is he just pretending?
this
Is
actor
this
is so
is
much.
I mean, it's very pantomime
Yeah.
mask,
Yeah.
like don't look behind you. Oh no, yeah, I did it. Oh yes, you did. It has a bit of that
Uh-huh.
silliness. But I think that is also, I think there is sort of that tradition in like Japanese ghost stories. There is a little bit of like where horror and silliness, like there is a little bit of like creepy funny
Yeah.
is like there's a little bit of that in there. The uncanny, let's
Yeah.
say.
So they talked about one of the other criminals that they were looking, former pirates that they were looking for is Ono.
That's it.
And the other one is Tanema, who is like their leader.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what happened to Tanema.
No.
The rumor is that he somehow managed to slip out of the country and move to Europe.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Um,
Gotcha.
so uh
But like, let's go find Ono. We know
yeah,
where he
let's go find
works.
Ono. And so they go to because he's living in Chiba. And
Yeah.
we had learned earlier when Saiko went missing and she sent a postcard back to the church
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, I'm living in Chiba now. I'm just doing my fucking evil shit." And
Literally, she's like, I'm watching boats go by.
uh-huh.
Hey, sounds all right.
Which in all honesty, she is up to some evil shit because she is
Yes,
out
she
here picking these
is.
motherfuckers off one at a
Oh,
time.
yeah.
I have some question as to how she did any and all of these things.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, so
Which
the
is
gas leak,
why it's like, is it Sayako? Is it her dead sister? Is it a ghost? Is it a
yes.
person?
The
Because the things we're
movie
seeing are all very tangible.
the
Like
movie
the way
wants
people are
you to
getting killed.
believe. Yeah. The movie wants you in the moment to think it is the ghost. But in the
Yes.
end, the movie wants you to know that it was always Psycho doing the murders.
Yeah.
But my
But
question is like, okay,
but
gas
Ono's
leak?
death?
Gas leak makes
Okay,
sense.
sure.
You could get away with that.
Woman in the middle of the road trying to force a man off the road. Plausible. She like
Dangerous.
strang she strangles or stabs or something the dead guy in the shower.
Yep.
Plausible.
Yep.
But Ono's death is a bit of a mystery.
So Ono is getting into like old school deep sea diver suit, like the
Yeah.
full bell over the head with the tube coming out the top, and he's going down scuba
And it's the
diving.
60s, you know.
It's 60s, yeah.
Yeah.
He's going down to scuba dive
They're,
in order to deep diving into the water.
well,
And
they're gonna
he's
go, they're trying to pull a car out. Apparently a
yeah,
car is driven off a pier and they're gonna pull a car out. And that car is, I love 60s cars. I have to
uh-huh.
admit, man, I fucking love 60s cars. They had so much personality. What I don't love about 60s cars is when they're connected to skeletons that are linked together like barrel full of monkeys
Yeah.
style.
Yeah,
You
well,
know, the barrel full of
let me
monkeys. You know what
set
I'm
this up.
talking about?
I do. I do. Here, let me set the visual up though, which is to say that he's going deep sea diving, runs into the
Yeah.
skeletons. We just see his face go blank. The next
Yeah.
thing they know is when everyone else arrives there. And when I say everyone else, it is not only the other criminals, but also the father and
Mochizuki, yeah,
Mochizuki.
like everybody's converging because everybody's in Chiba now.
And then the people atop that ship that Ono went off of are like, there's been a problem. And then when they pull it up, what do they find?
A car,
A car.
2 to 3 skeletons that are linked together like a barrel full of monkey, like fucking seahorses with tails wrapped around each other. And then at the bottom of that, Ono's dead body. What are the physics of this? What? How? Why? How is ever like, okay, you're working as a junker. You're an
Yes.
off-sea junker, and you're like, oh, some asshole drove a car into the pier. We gotta pull the car out of the bay.
Yeah.
And you pull up that car.
Yes.
It'd be horrible. It's a horrible tragedy if the diver who went down there is attached to that car and is somehow his tube has been connected and he's dead and he's drowned in even though he's inside the thing. But there's fucking skeletons attached that are just like 1930s Mickey Mouse like boo
Yeah,
kind of
yeah. Merry
skeletons.
melodies. Yeah.
Like like what the living fuck is going on?
Unbelievable.
Also, like, how are the skeletons holding on? What are they? Also,
I
and
don't know.
everybody treats this as just like they're like, oh no, he's dead.
Oh shit.
Look at
Well,
those skeletons. That seems weird.
do you think we need a police detective? No, no, no. This is a
No,
common way you go, you know.
no.
It just happens
You
sometimes
just
in the
get
course
wrapped
of
up
work.
in skeletons at the bottom of the ocean.
Yep.
Now, I do love the fact that the gangsters, this is what I love about hardboiled detective kind of the plot line. They know that, like, this is the moment where they're like, oh, we're proper fucked.
Yeah.
You know, Like the guy who was like, "Oh, there's no go. Oh, you know what? We need to get the fuck out of here." And I love this next scene in which him and his girlfriend are like, we're going to Hong Kong. We've been planning this trip for a long time." And their friend is like, "What? No, you can't get out of here. Look, I'm going to write a letter saying that you're a gangster and you're a nefarious criminal, so you have to stay here and get
Yeah.
grudged by the grudge.
Yep.
You've
Um,
been grudged."
you've been grudged. Yeah, they kind of proper know that they're fucked. They know they're proper fucked. And
But I love the fact
it's
that they're at least like taking it seriously enough to get out of the country.
yeah, and it's Tsuji who is like keeping club owner and his wife like, you have to stay here.
Yeah.
Like we have to get to the bottom of what's going on. Like we need
Do we though? Do
I
we?
I think so, because I think they need to figure out like who's killing us. You know what I mean? Like
That's true.
we're
Yeah.
fucking
Kill or be
mastermind
killed.
criminals.
Yeah, yeah,
You're a
yeah, yeah.
former whatever the Japanese CIA is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're a former like secret covert ops for the Japanese army.
Yeah.
Like we're good at this. Like we should
Yeah.
have gotten away with this, and somebody knows, and we got to do them in. We cannot be
Yeah.
running off.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that. Like it's yeah, team up.
Yeah. Okay, sure. I was also very distracted by the mistress's like like hello funny girl-esque Barbara
Oh
Streisand
yeah.
60s attire. I mean, I was like, gorgeous, lovely
What
girl work. She's going on a shop. She's just with her little suitcase. She's like, no, we planned this vacation to Hong Kong for no, we're just going on a shopping vacation. Look, I'm wearing my little swoopy bell hat,
Oh my God.
but they don't get to go.
No,
They
they do
gotta,
not
they
get.
gotta, they gotta dive farther into the mystery because there's
Yeah.
only like the four of them left.
Yeah.
There's like the three that are together, and then we know in the back of our minds, there's always Two-Face guy out
Yep.
there somewhere.
Yep. Um, so when they're leaving Chiba, they're getting in the car to go off, but then Tsuji sees what he thinks is Yuriko
Yep.
standing, off in the distance by a trash heap or whatever
Yeah.
junk heap. And this is when he does the thing you mentioned, which is he runs full speed in the other way, arms flailing above his head.
Flailing. And we follow a tracking shot of him just running and screaming
He
from nothing, running and screaming up a hill,
and he
running
chooses
and screaming into a lighthouse.
If you think something is chasing you and you're in a kind of an open field sort of environment like this, and there is a single lighthouse, do you keep running along the field or do you go up the lighthouse stairs? What is your best way to get away from somebody?
I mean, the lighthouse makes sense.
Does
I am
it?
going back to my It Follows rule,
Uh-huh.
which is put your back against a wall. You know,
Yeah.
like an open field, you can see if it's in all directions, but you can't watch your back. So I would say run into the lighthouse still, but not maybe, but it,
The problem
but
with the lighthouse, it's a dead end. It is
that
one
is
way
true.
up, and the only way
Yeah.
down is what he does, which is throw himself off of it.
Yeah.
But like if the person who's chasing you runs into the lighthouse, you have no way back down.
That is true.
Yeah, I just thought it
This
was
lighthouse sequence, the
it's
running in the
the same
field
rule of
sequence
don't
is
run upstairs.
silly.
Yeah, don't go upstairs.
Don't go upstairs. Yeah, because the
Yeah.
only way out is to jump. But once they get to this is where I was like, this filmmaking, this is gorgeous because
Yeah.
it's just his like sweaty face and he's like screaming and everything is like this
Facts.
movie does, especially when we get into like the demise of Spooky Boat, but
Mhm.
it begins in this lighthouse with this sort of like oil slick machinery that's like throughout this movie, like rust and like I don't know. It's really everything looks really sticky and oily, and in the black and whiteness, it's really shiny and gross. And I
Yeah.
love that as a horror movie.
Yeah. So the bats are coming for him. He's getting all the way
More
to the top.
bats.
He can see there's somebody, he can see and hear somebody coming up the lighthouse steps, and he's like, fuck it. He just calmly throws both feet over the ledge and just
Yep.
falls to his death.
For a hardened criminal, all it takes is just seeing one lady off in the distance. And it's really funny that it's like they never check. They just instinctively know. It has this feeling of like their conscience is haunting them,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like they never question it. They never try to confront the person that's chasing them. He just goes full waving, full inflatable arm man, up and up and up and then down.
Yeah. I was just thinking about like there's kind of this notion in some horror movies, in a supernatural horror movie, wherein like the ghost or the demon is coming for somebody, and the one of the protagonists who's going to get killed thinks they can fight it off. You
Sure.
know, saw this in
Yeah.
Pumpkinhead. Like I can kill it with a
Oh, yeah,
gun.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
you cannot
Yeah.
kill Pumpkinhead with a gun, you
Yeah,
dummy.
I know.
But this is a movie wherein like, oh, if they had just had one person in their group who was like, I'm going to confront that fucking ghost. I'm going to go shoot the
Yep.
ghost.
Yeah. They
Problems
might have
over.
figured some stuff out.
Problems over.
But you know what? Intimidation is a very important psychological weapon.
Yeah, it really is. She does a great job at that.
I also love it's that. I mean that sequence was a little silly, to be
Hmm.
honest. But I kind of love it when like the club owner and the mall, like the girlfriend are down at the bottom of the cliff. They find their cohort's body and they
Uh-huh.
look up and they see her for the first time.
Yes.
And she just turns and walks away. And that's where I was
That's
like, dude, y'all fucked. Y'all are
yeah,
so fucked.
that's a great point. Yeah, because it's important that they see the ghost.
Uh-huh.
So the other thing that happens that is not in Saiko's plan is that Mochizuki and the father show up there
Yes.
because they know she's in Chiba, so they've gone looking for her. They see kind of all of this kind of go down, and he embraces her and is like, I'll never
Yeah.
let you go. And you can see on her face, like, motherfucker.
I know, right?
God,
She is
fuck,
over this relationship.
fuck.
She's like, I'm in my villain era.
Yeah,
Can I don't know if I'm really into this right now.
yeah. He back at the church, he's like, it's very funny that he goes immediately to like, why do you want us to break up? Because he's
Yeah.
like, his first question is like, what's wrong? What's happening in your life? She's like, I can't talk about it. And he says, why do you want us to break up? Which I love the binary of
I know, right?
either
We're
either
either
you're
on or
all in
off.
or all
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're real.
She's like, I can't tell you, and runs off.
Yeah.
But she makes a mistake
Uh-huh.
because she goes back to the church, and I think she maybe thinks she can get right with God or whatever,
Yep. She's gonna
because
make a confession.
she does confession with the father saying like, Father, I've killed 4 people and I'm sorry I turned my back on you. And he's like, listen, not a problem. Throw yourself on God's mercy, right? Like just
Man, Christianity is wild to me. It's like, let's just you can do whatever you want, but just know that you're going to burn in hell eternally. So
yeah.
you choose, you can keep killing people, you can not kill people, but just saying,
If you
there
just
is a
get
right
right
and a
with
wrong.
God.
But
Yeah.
yeah, you just got to fall on your knees and ask for forgiveness, and also maybe stop killing gangsters. And yes, gangsters that did terrible things
Yeah.
to your sister. Yes, this revenge is some questionable moral ground, but it is what comes next that I was besnookered by. That is not a word, but that is
Mm-mm.
the only way. I literally went, what? Like, what the fuck is happening?
I will say did not necessarily see this coming, but I had the hunch that something to the effect of this, that the twist.
Oh, really?
And I will tell you why, which is it's during the confession.
Yeah. Yeah.
The way they filmed this actor who plays Father Agashi, uh, they've got he's got not sunglasses, but normal glasses that are the same
Yeah.
frames as the sunglasses.
Oh, shit. You're
And
right.
his face is in shadow, so it
Yeah.
looks just like the burned face man from the
Yeah. Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but that's happening during the confession. I'm like, oh, he looks just like the burned face man.
Yeah. I did
Well,
not put that together because I was more in the like, oh my God, the way he's going to, it was more his priesting skills that I was like, is this how this works?
yeah.
I've never given confession, but this seems very complicated.
Yeah, he was very much like, no, 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 it's fine,
It's
everything's fine,
fine.
stay in really the motive here is stay in the church. You cannot leave us.
Yeah.
Stay in the church
Yeah.
because it's honestly it's not you who have sinned, but Satan is what he tells her.
Oh, that's right. That was another point, which I'm like, as a non-Christian, I'm like, what kind of, it's Satan that has sinned. You're good. You just need to, cast the devil out and Satan takes all the sins with him. I was like, is that how it works?
Well, now let's get into Bonkers Alley. We
Yeah,
have
I would say this is Scooby-Doo Island Bonkers Alley Act 3, in
yes.
which throw out everything you think you know about the plot.
Psycho is in bed asleep, and
Yeah.
two black gloved hands reach down and choke her out.
Yeah. I thought she died, which is why a lot of the ending of this movie I was like, what the fuck? People are dead that you don't think are dead. And it turns out those black gloves belong to the priest.
Hmm. Yeah, we
I
look
was
up
like,
and see who's choking her, and it is Father.
floored. I was
Hmm.
floored. Now, I was below the floor when he pulls out the goddamn suit of armor.
Well, let's even back up. The second step of like, oh shit, that's the priest murdering this
Okay,
girl.
sure.
Two, fuck, she's dead. Like we just
Yeah.
killed this protagonist.
I thought he strangled her to death.
Yeah. Three, he then hears Johnny, the collie, barking
Oh,
outside.
yes.
But Johnny distracts him from his first reaction after she's dead is to tear her clothes off.
Yes.
And
Oh
he
my
starts
God, this movie. Yeah.
he starts staring
Like
at her
pawing at
body.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then the dog is barking. He's like, I got to find a different solution here. Carries her
Yeah.
upstairs. Then he
Then
takes out
the
a
suit of
suit of
armor.
armor. Why have suit of armor? Why have suit of armor?
Well, because it's just one of those things you have in your house. And I was like, is he gonna do what I think? Oh my God, I think and sure enough, he does. He puts her prone, naked body into a suit of armor and like closes up the thing. I was like, this movie is wild.
Well, then Johnny the collie comes barking up the
Johnny
stairs.
knows exactly what's going on though.
Johnny can smell her in there and is like pawing at the thing, like let my stepmom out.
Yeah.
I love this lady. Let her out, let her out. And so he then takes the candelabra and smashes this dog.
He kills I mean, listen, if you're gonna kick the dog, you might as well kick the fucking dog.
Yeah. And then out of the blue, here comes the club owner, Pirate Man,
Yep.
being like, Priest, what the fuck? I saw the whole
Yeah.
murder and I
Yeah.
figured it out.
Yes.
It's you, Tanama. And then he snatches his wig from the back of the head.
Snatches his fucking face off.
Yeah. And his mask comes off like a Scooby-Doo cartoon.
Yeah, it does. Like full on Austin Powers, Mission Impossible. Like, haha, it was you the whole time.
Unbelievable.
I love it.
It was great.
Because I admit, like, there were so many twists and turns in this movie. When we got to like the priest and the confession, I was like, "This okay, all right, let's finally." Oh, but
Whoa. Yeah.
I thought I was out, but
They drew me back in. Yep.
They drew me back in with the priest getting his face snatched off.
Mm-hmm. So Tanema has this conversation with club owner's like, I saw her ghost. That's definitely a ghost. And Tanema is like, no.
She's been doing it.
She has a
The
twin
Echo's been doing it.
sister.
Yes.
She has a twin sister.
Oh my God.
Saika's
None
been.
of them think of this. None of them.
None of them had the courage to be like,
Hey, lady.
what's your name?
Hey,
do you know Yuriko?
why are
And
you
you get
following me?
Anyways, but then club owner pirate says, Okay, so great. That makes sense. It's not a ghost, it's her twin sister doing this, but
Okay.
how did she know about us? Um,
Bats?
but
Bats? I was
and
like, oh no, she just read the ship's log. She because she confessed
yeah.
now.
And then Tanuma kind of pieces that information together even further, and it's like, wait a minute, the
How'd she
ship,
read the ship's log?
is there a ship? Where's the ship?
Boat. Cue
Boat.
the boat. Cue the bats.
And they go making a mad dash toward the car
Oh
to drive
my
out to the pier
God.
to go get on that fucking ship.
What are
Uh,
they what is the best outcome of them getting on this ship, Jeffrey? I mean, if it were me, I would have a fuck ton of dynamite. I would be like, lob it over the side,
yeah.
drive away.
I think part of the idea is that, wait a minute, if she read it in the ship's log,
We got to
we
get rid of the
as
ship. We got to get ship.
criminals
Yeah. Yeah.
need
We got
that
to get rid of
ship's
the ship.
log. Yeah.
No more ship. No more ship's log. No more crime.
No, no big issue. I'm like, how is this boat just drifting around waters for 3 years and nobody's seeing it?
Spooky boat.
I guess so. Uh,
Grudge.
okay.
Grudge boat. Get on the grudge cruise, Jeffrey. That's a cruise. This is actually a theme cruise in which you only invite people that you have a grudge against.
Okay.
And you just like, you don't even have to go. You just invite them on the cruise. And then surprise, they get there. And it's just all a bunch of people that have, there's like letters or I don't
Uh,
know. I'm workshopping this idea. Grudge
yeah, instead
cruise.
of Joko cruise, we could do the
Yeah.
Ju-on cruise, which
Ju-on
is
cruise. Yep.
it's just creepy black shadows down long hallways.
Yep.
It's
And
I would
then
love it.
everyone dies
Hmm.
and the
Oh,
boat disappears.
so there's something about women not really dying in this movie that I find really fascinating. That the men are kind of,
What?
other than the doctor, the men are kind of decidedly dead, but the women. So Yoriko, we're about to learn about what happened with
Yeah.
her. Psycho, like, very clearly was choked to death on her bed, but I
Yeah.
guess pretended the whole thing.
I guess she's choked, like choked not to death.
She faked
She's
it or
she's
whatever.
okay.
She's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
And then
She just
which
passed out.
cracks me up because we learned that Tanuma father is like essentially former former CIA of Japan. I'm like,
Yeah.
has he never killed a man? Has he never thought, let's check
Yeah.
his pulse, make sure he's dead?
Well, I mean, listen,
Then
his he's gonna hide her in a suit of armor, so he's not. I
he's
don't
on a
know.
different level.
Yeah.
But the one I'm getting to is the club owner's girlfriend because they climb
Right.
the rope ladder up the
Yep.
ship and then it breaks and she falls all the way down into the water. And you presume, well, she's probably dead from impact or
But
not. I
no,
don't know.
like I don't think so. That's crazy. They also came there in a boat to get to the spooky boat somehow.
But
You just fall
also,
in the water and you get into the boat. That's what happens. That's what happens to Mochizuki.
yeah, that's true. Well,
But
somehow, even though
but
the
I
rope
love.
ladder broke, she's gonna manage
Mhm.
to get back up there very soon. And
Yes.
I'm like, how did this happen?
I so many questions.
Okay, so when the rope ladder breaks, she falls back down in the water, and we sort of like Tanema is like, oh well, no big loss. She knew too much about us anyway.
Right? Yikes. Brutal.
But then when they're in the boat, they hear the moaning and the crying from a woman from
Mhm.
below. Then they see somebody coming. This woman makes no announcement at all to what her intentions are, but
Nope.
it's the club owner's girlfriend just walking in the dark, gonna surprise these two boys with guns and knives, and club owner just throws a switchblade and it lands right in
Yep.
her fucking face.
And he literally just goes, "Oops."
Whew.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we make it to a room, and
Uh-huh.
there is a body under a white sheet. And the
Yes.
sheet pulls away, and we realize it is two bodies. It
Yes.
is Yoriko and her husband, the doctor.
Oh my gosh. And the
Uh-huh.
moaning, the ghost sounds are on like an old reel to reel.
Yes.
And the doctor sort of clicks off the reel to reel, and he is in full on like ghoul makeup.
Yes. Yes. Unbelievable. This whole setup. I had so many questions like, what are you eating? What are
Yeah,
you
oh,
drinking?
yeah,
How have you stayed? I mean, I can just sort of like say, okay, I can presume that maybe you survived the gunfire or whatever, and they missed your body somehow, that you lived
yeah.
through that,
And you're a
whatever.
doctor, so you like
You,
remove the bullets and you ate the rest of the crew,
yes.
but it drove you mad
Uh-huh.
because you've spent the last 3 years in your makeshift mad scientist laboratory removing your blood and trying to pump it into the blood of your dead wife,
Uh-huh.
who is now a mummy.
Uh-huh. She looks great. Hot,
She
just
looks
best skin
stunning,
on any mummy I've ever seen. So hot.
gorgeous, like
Yeah.
gorgeous. That she's using that manuka honey stuff, like the whole thing.
uh,
But she's like there, but not there. She can
yes.
move, but she's not. So she's like an automaton. Like I don't
She's
even
like
know if there's a word
undead.
for it.
Like
Yeah,
she's an
like
undamaged zombie.
yes, like they use the word mummy, which I think
Uh-huh.
is maybe the closest in that she's a preserved dead body that can move.
I think we would if we because Night of the Living Dead didn't come around until 68, and actually the
Yeah.
zombie thing didn't, they weren't even
Oh
calling them
yeah.
zombies in that movie. So a
So
zombie is
maybe
more of a
maybe zombie is
70s
better.
term. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, zombie as a word has been around, but like a term to describe that type of undead
Sure.
is,
The revived dead. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But she
So
is not with she's not with us up here.
yeah,
She is brain dead.
yeah. At this point, I was still like, these are all ghosts. We're seeing things. We're
Yeah,
hallucinating. We're not, but these
sure.
aren't ghosts. He really is
No.
alive. They open fire on him. He manages to, he's very nimble for somebody who's
Yes.
got only a pint of blood left and probably still has 5 or 6 bullet holes in him.
And he's been
Um,
like eating fingers for the last 3 years.
yep.
It's more the fact that he like set up a recording of people moaning to scare people away.
Can I throw out a thought that
Huh?
okay, I'm going to pretend for a second that I was this doctor,
Okay.
and
You
I
just got
obviously,
married. Congratulations, Mazel
thank you.
Tov. But you know what? You can pull a little extra work by going on to this,
Yep.
take your fiance or your
Tr-
honeymoon cruise ship.
Tragic end, horrifying to see your
Tragic.
wife gunned down.
Yeah.
And then you survive this somehow. You manage to
Uh-huh.
heal yourself.
Uh-huh.
Everyone's off the boat. It's just
The
you.
pirates have left. Yeah.
The boat is very close to other things. You have access to a horn.
Sure.
Um, when you get
The
close to
engine's
land,
probably fine.
yeah, when you get close to land, what if alert people, tell them you were the only survivor, and you get them all turned in? Or what if you or what if you don't do that? What if you get off the boat, never tell anyone you're still alive, and then you kind of what Saiko did, which is then you hunt
Yeah.
these men
And then
down
you
on your
you
own.
do the proper revenge
Yeah.
killing kind of thing. I think it's the idea of like watching his wife get like raped and murdered in front of him drove
Yes.
him mad.
I think you're right. Yeah, that's kind of the explanation for why he's like this. Um,
But it is
so
fantastical to say the least.
well, he has done a few things. Like one, he's managed to keep his wife sort of alive in an undead state,
Mhm.
where
Yeah.
I think he's
She
been
looks great.
I think he's been I don't know. It's weird. I'm just curious about this. But then he's
It
also had time to develop a algae-based super acid that can eat through steel.
uh-huh. Yes.
It
That he's just
foams like
but
Dr. Bronner's soap.
just bubbling up in some beakers and boilers.
And
I was
he,
like, if that can eat through anything, why is it not eating through what the fuck?
I
What kind
don't
of
it's
science is this?
I
Weird
don't
science.
uh-huh. He a vial of it gets smashed on the floor and it starts eating through the ship, but then he
Yeah.
pushes the club owner guy down into the
Yeah.
acid, and that acid covers his body
Woof.
fast.
this is some intense like 1960s graphics because it's like animated
Yeah.
and it doesn't show it for long, but it is kind of brutal.
Mm-hmm.
The face bit. Now, the skeleton bit, this is gloopy gloppy, Jeffrey.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't okay, listen. I'm not going to amend my will or anything like that. But if I am ever, when I do shuffle off this mortal coil,
Uh-huh.
to whomever takes care of my remains, just to see what happens, I might give you permission in a controlled environment to just drop my body into acid just to see what happens, just to see
Sure.
if it's as cool as it is in this movie.
Yep. I like it.
This is not legally binding. However,
Uh-huh.
I did kind of give it a three hard thoughts yesterday. I was like, wouldn't it be, I mean, I would want to know, is there something that looks like this? I mean, death by being eaten to death by acid, this looks brutal. This looks
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah.
But once you're dead, I don't know, just kind of see what happens.
So then we see this guy get melted away. So now we're just down to Tanuma.
Yes.
Um
Big boss showdown.
and then here comes Tanuma and he's sees all this go down. He's a little in shock. The doctor is
Yeah.
laughing and pursuing him.
I
We
gotta
get the
say,
whole evil Bond villain description of what we've already
oh
talked
yeah,
about, what
what
he's been
he's been
doing this whole
doing.
time.
Now, Jeffrey, I love this.
Yeah.
I love it when the person that is the meanest, evilest person in the entire movie meets another character that makes that person afraid.
Mm-hmm.
That is some hot shit that
Yeah,
I
yeah.
fucking love.
Yeah.
Because like this guy, he's like a hitman. We've seen him like from frame one, we've seen him do terrible things, kill people, rape people.
Yeah.
He's dressed as a priest to hide his escape and then to extract a confession of the twin sister. And then when he meets evil mad scientist who's like, I will experiment on you later, I was like, yeah, that fear in your eyes, that's fucking real.
Yeah, because the priest says, or the sorry, Tanuma says, what do you want from me? And he says, fresh blood for my experiments. Yeah, you can absolutely negotiate your way out of this. I will let you go
Yeah.
if you give me all of your blood.
Okay.
And you're right. Like,
A
it's
pound of flesh, not a jot more.
the thing that came clear to me in that moment about Tanuma, because it was really interesting to watch this kind of, I think, a very skilled person, right? Like we set up that he's like Japanese CIA.
Yeah.
He's very well trained. He executed like the heist of the century, whatever.
Yeah.
He's
All of his
master of
peers are like,
disguise.
well, he's literally hit the club owner guy is like, listen, the way you disappeared and this
Mhm.
like fool your friends to fool your enemies, like you set up 3 blind accounts. Like he is this, like no one could have been smarter.
Yeah, and so in
A
this
better
moment,
criminal.
I was a little bit put off by the fact that he's not really truly he doesn't seem like the tough guy in this moment, that he's wilting like,
Yeah.
oh, what do you want, what, I'll give you whatever, please don't hurt. But I realized like what they're doing, his choice of escape was to go into the priesthood and to go into Christianity in particular, because as you were talking about earlier, one of the big complaints about Christianity is you can be as evil as you fucking want,
Yeah.
but if on your deathbed you're like, oh God, please forgive me, boom,
Repent.
you're in heaven.
Yeah.
All you have to do is repent. And I think there's something there to the fact that he believes this. Like he believes I just have to do the one thing. I
Oh,
can
wow.
repent and get out of this. And so it's no mistake that he's in Christianity, because I think he really wants to believe in that. I think he really wants to believe I can be forgiven if I just ask for forgiveness and live the right life. But it's the unmasking, it's the wig snatching,
Yeah.
the face snatching that
Yeah.
happens, that he is his true self once again. He is his own doppelganger, right? And so
Oh,
in
for
this
sure.
moment, he is both things at once. And he's like, wait a minute, I could bargain my way with God. Why can I not bargain with you?
Sure.
I just think that's brilliant. I thought that was such a brilliant conundrum, of a really interesting thought experiment there.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately for the doctor, he's not as in good a physical shape as Tanuma,
Oh,
and
yeah,
climbing
he's got like
this death. Ooh,
the eye. He's got like a bit of an iron deficiency from eating fingers and toes for
and,
3 years.
draining his blood in a funnel into his dead wife. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Do you want to talk about this death that the doctor has?
This death, this is like it feel they're in the bowels of the ship. It feels very much like Freddy Krueger's basement, which
Yeah.
again, super scary. Love the ambiance, love the scenery. But he just sort of he goes over one of the railings. I can't remember if like the priest like gets a leg up on it. Like he just sort of goes over the railing.
He just makes a misstep and falls.
Yeah. And he falls down like 6 flights into the bowels of the ship.
He like bounces off of things along the way. You know that
Oh yeah.
scene in Titanic when the ship starts to split
Yeah.
and you see the
And it's
guy
like the
falling
body.
and hit the
Ah!
propeller? That's
Yep.
what this is. Yeah.
But we're not done yet
Nope.
because he falls into a mousetrap, like pepper grinder of some sort.
It's the pulley for the
You know what it is. You know what it. You remember? Do you remember how Christopher Lloyd's character in Who Framed Roger Rabbit dies?
Oh yeah.
It's that.
Yeah. He
It's that.
gets wrung out in the pulley
He
system.
gets put through the ringer,
Yep.
and he literally you watch, but you don't really want because again, we're talking like it's like the camera frame is just on his face going, "Ugh," and his arms sort of getting pulled underneath. But he gets laundered
Yeah.
is a way to describe it. Mushed,
He gets pressed. Yeah.
pressed, ground,
Yep.
fresh ground scientist.
Well, so Tanema breathes a sigh of relief, but then he's
Oh
also
no.
noticing that all of the chemicals have spilled all over the ship and they are starting to eat through the fucking hull. This thing is going to
Which
go
is
down.
listen, that's part that aligns with this plan. Get rid of the ship, get
Totally.
rid of the crime.
So he's like, I just got to get off the ship now. So he climbs all the
Yeah.
way back up to the deck. He's going to climb back down into his boat
Yep.
and
But
but
hand of
something
fate.
grabs him. Yep, the
Oh
hand
my
of
gosh.
fate.
And it's Eureka.
It's Yuriko, and she's holding the cuff of his pants in the same way it even shows us the flashback to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
opening
yeah.
scene.
Oh, again. And it's like, but again, her face is totally blank. And this is where we get a little like, again, spooky and funny.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're bunk beds.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes who's in the top bunk, who's in the bottom bunk, because you have this dude who just has this woman just like one hand on his ankle, and
Yeah.
he is dragging her this way and that,
Yeah.
but she will not let go
She
because
she won't let go.
she literally has a death grip on him.
Yeah. And he, in order to break free, he takes out a knife and he stabs her in the gut and blood sprays up all over his face.
Which I was like, oh, okay, how do you get rid of a death grip from a ghost mummy zombie lady? You cut off her hands. Duh. But no, we're going for the generic, I'm just going to stab you in the sternum for
I
no
also
reason
like
at all.
that there was so much blood coming out of her that
I
it
know,
made me
right?
imagine that maybe she was just filled up like a balloon.
I know, like a
Like that
tick.
she popped like a
Yep.
blood balloon. Um,
But he gets so shocked by that, I think he falls into the pool of acid
yes.
that is now ever widening on the ship.
Yeah,
And he is thrashing and wailing.
yeah, he first before that happens, Saiko shows up.
Right.
Saiko shows up with a
Yeah.
candelabra
Oh
and
yeah.
again, the candelabra coming back. We
Yeah.
just saw him murder the dog with the
Well,
candelabra.
because she was in the suit of armor. She
Yep.
got out of her. Like, can you imagine what if they showed what was not like? Can you imagine this like naked woman getting out of a suit of armor? Like, oh my
It's
gosh,
unbelievable.
oh, they killed the dog. Fuck that dude. I'm gonna go fuck his world up. Time to get me to the Dragon King.
She goes full Jules on him. She recites
Yeah,
not Ezekiel 25:17, but
I love it.
Psalms 1 to him.
She's like, you remember your favorite psalm? It was Psalm 1. Say it with me. Say it. Say it.
And it's actually Psalm 1 is
I don't know any of
kind
the
of
psalms.
pretty close.
I don't even know what a psalm is, Jeffrey.
All right.
It's a poem or a song or a
Can I
psalm.
I'm going to read you Psalm 1 right now.
Please preach.
Um this is Psalm 1 from this is a New International Version. But if you've heard Ezekiel 25:17, you'll notice some
Sure.
similarities to what's happening. Blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in the way that sinners take, or sit in the company of mockers, but whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and who meditates on his law day and night. That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. Not so the wicked. They are like chaff that the wind
Oh,
blows away. Therefore, the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. Um, yeah, I love this so
man.
much. I love that it's Ezekiel 25:17.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Like, if you like, bad things come to bad people.
Yeah.
And I'm going to watch you while all the bad things that you've accumulated come to you right now.
Well, and I love it too because it is challenging his really shallow, almost legalistic interpretation of Christian forgiveness.
Sure.
Because he uses this psalm to say if you believe that righteousness begins with not atonement, but just turning yourself over to God,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
which is like this real basic Christian entry level thing, he believes that he is righteous. And what she's saying is actually what that psalm says, if you listen to it, is that a true righteous person is rooted in their righteousness like a tree. The evil
Sure.
are like chaff.
They
So
blow away.
when there is an assembly of the righteous, all of the chaff will have blown away. And
I
you,
don't
sir,
think
are
he.
chaff.
I don't think he's as sincere as you think he is. I think he becomes a priest not because of his own moral foothold. I
Hmm.
think he's seeking her out. I think the priest is just a guise in order, and I think he's feeding her all this, like, you should really, you confess, you confess, because he knows that Saiko is a loose end out there somewhere. He knows that there's a twin sister out there somewhere who might come poking around someday. And if you can gain her confidence, and who else would you get the whole story from than a priest?
Yeah.
Then I
Yeah,
think that's why. I
yeah,
mean,
no, I
I
agree.
saw him as much more duplicitous
Oh, I
and
think he
less,
is. I think he is
you
too,
know,
but I also think that he believes he truly escaped, and I don't think he like believes in God. I think he's going through the motions of what it means to be righteous. And that's my own read on it
sure.
because that's my interpretation of cheap Christianity.
Oh,
There's like
gotcha.
a
Yeah.
dime store Christianity that involves just as long as you ask for forgiveness and as long as you say you believe in the power of Christ compels you, whatever, that you will be saved, that there's an on-off switch to
Yeah.
salvation in many
Yeah. Yeah.
versions
Yeah.
of Christianity.
As long as you
And I
confess
th-
on your deathbed, all is forgiven,
and
kind
I
of.
think that's what he has bought into. Maybe not the Christianity part, not to say that he believes he's going to Christian heaven or that he even believes in Christian hell, but it fits so well with he is saved because he's hiding in broad daylight. No one will ever catch him.
Sure.
And it's only the if it hadn't been for these meddling kids, it would have
Oh,
gotten away
I
with it.
knew you were going to say it.
Yeah, and so she Ezekiel 25:17's him right here,
Yeah.
and he tries to come after her, but he smashes her head with that candle. She smashes his
Yeah.
head with the candelabra, and he falls into the acid and dies. And then maybe my favorite line of this, so Saiko, she's holding her dead sister.
Yeah.
Mochizuki shows up because he was like, I heard the foghorn, I knew you would be
Yep.
here.
Yep.
And he's like, come on, let's go home. And he says, I love you.
Uh-huh.
And she says, I loved you so much. Hold
I
me. And
fuck.
he holds her. They kiss passionately. And he says, let's go. And she's like, shove.
She pushes him overboard.
Unbelievably.
Brutal.
Unbelievable. So good. Because I clocked the
I
I
mean, we
love
all
you.
know,
I loved
we
you so
know.
much.
I loved you. And we know that Sayako, like from the moment she comes back from that ship, the very first time, with the bats and with the door blows open the church, you know that it is not her ending is not going to be happy. You
No,
know, there's no amount of therapy, there's no amount of like church therapy, family, there's nothing that is going to bring her back, you know,
no.
and especially not, you know, Mochizuki, the tavern keeper, and his speedboat weekends down in Palm Springs are not gonna like
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
gonna make her forget the mass tragedy that has happened in her life. So
Yeah.
this movie, the wrap up feels so satisfactory.
Absolutely. It's the way it has to end. And it's so
Yeah,
dramatic. It's so
yeah,
high stakes. It's beautiful in the way she's like, she did love him. And she
yeah,
says, Mochizuki, forgive me. She
yeah,
says to no one because he's already down in the water below. And he just
yeah.
has to climb back onto his boat and watch the whole Dragon King like melt and implode and
Oh
sink.
my God, which is so fucking cool. This is also where I was like, ooh, David Lynch, eat your heart out. This is
Yeah.
like boiling acid, metal, oil. This is very insane filmmaking
Uh-huh.
stuff.
Yeah.
But also a
Well,
ship in a bath, like a toy
it
boat in a
is. Yes,
bathtub
it's also that too.
with somebody splashing water at it.
Uh, the end. Shall we rate this movie?
And yes, let's.
All right, let's talk about approachability if you're horror squeamish on a scale of 1 to 10 from me, with 1 being like, don't approach this movie if you're squeamish about horror, 10 being you go for it. Um, I would give like Living Skeleton, I'm gonna say like, what do you think, like 7 or 8? 7 out of 10 wet bats?
I mean,
Lower?
I was even say 8 or 9.
8 or 9. Let's
Like,
let's
okay, there is this movie is misogynistic. There is some pretty questionable how it treats its women are pretty questionable in a lot of places. You do
yeah,
see
and
some boobs. It's
I
pretty
don't mean to say like how
ugh,
R-rated it is when I talk about approachability. I mean like if you are
right
like squeamish about going into horror films.
horror. This is like I mean, House on Haunted Hill,
Yeah.
like those skeletons, Jeffrey,
Yeah, I know, I
those
know.
underwater skeletons.
The only thing I'll say is I found the Psycho and the Shadows stuff really unsettling.
Yeah,
I found that
that was
really
fun. Yeah,
actually creepy. So like I like 9 is getting into some pretty
yeah. That's
yeah.
like it's not quite over the garden wall. It's also some of the ghost stalking stuff is kind of
Yeah.
creepy. I can see
Yeah.
what you're saying. Yeah,
And I think the shock of the end too, like the blood splatter is profound, the melting away. That's why I was
yeah,
thinking like 7
yeah.
highest. Like
Okay,
let's say
fair.
7. 7 out of 10 wetbacks. And to your point, like content wise, there's a suicide, there's all that
Yeah,
spooky imagery. There's a whole rape revenge narrative. You don't see it, but you have it described to you, and that's the motive
yep.
for the revenge. We watch very good dog.
Oh,
But we watch animal murder in this as
yes.
well. Um, so those things to watch out for. But I think this is a really, really amazing film that I'm so surprised I didn't know anything about.
Yeah.
Um, as a horror film, not about approachability, but just where is this in the canon of horror for you, Cecil?
I mean, this movie's got a lot going for it.
Hmm.
It has a lot going against it as well.
Totally.
So if you like spoopy, if you like kind of moody, atmospheric black and white, kind of swing and 60s vibes, you'll really dig this movie.
uh,
If you like a plot that has as many holes as a Scooby-Doo island, then you might be a little miffed,
uh,
um, because it gets a little wild.
yeah.
There's people that are dead or not dead, all this sort of business. We went into all that. Um, the scariness of it is not really scary as much as it is atmospheric. It's like moody.
Uh-huh.
It's very much on a dark and stormy night. There was a ghost ship, out in the fog, cue foghorn. So in that way, it's not jump out and terrify you, but it does have some good old fashioned spirit Halloween scares. And
Mhm.
so for that, and it's also kind of a wild ride. It was pretty fucking fun to watch.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, seven, seven bump and grind strippers for
Perfect.
sure.
Perfect. All right, let's figure out what movie we're gonna watch next. You've got a scare die. I've got a style die. We'll roll those two dice up, and then see what movie fits the two things. So on your scare die, Cecil, if you roll a one, our scare is isolation. Two, wild card, whatever scare we want. Three, a vampire. Four, bad mom or bad dad. Five, a cult, cult, or six, end of the world. What you got?
That's a two.
Oh, we're gonna wild card it.
Oh,
Awesome.
yeah.
All right, so we get to pick whatever movie we want out of the following styles. So if I roll a one, it has to be a movie from the Southern Hemisphere. Two, it has to be a splatter film. Three, we've brought back one word title. Four, a cult film, meaning has a cult following. Five, it has to be a movie from the 1970s. Or six, we're going to bring back first three episodes TV show. So here we go. Six, first three episodes.
Oh,
Wild
all right.
card. So we both picked three, and we'll do one of these. What did you put on your list, Cecil?
The first one I put on there is something that I have never seen, but
Mm-hmm.
it's been very intriguing to me, and that is The Terror from 2018. And it also takes place on a spooky boat.
Oh, that's right.
Season one, a series of bizarre deaths haunt a Japanese American community. Oh, wait, no, wait, sorry, scratch that. Is that no? Because
There's
season one and season two have two different plots.
yes, it's an
God damn it.
anthology series. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, Season one of The Terror is more about kind of the ghost ship. Uh, God, what am I?
Monster
Let me
loose sort of thing.
wait. Yeah. Oh my God, I'm trying to find like a concise description. All right, so here we go. The Terror season one
Mm-hmm.
is a Royal Naval expedition that goes to the Arctic to find the Northwest Passage. But there's some monsters out there, and yep, definitely spooky boat pirate kind of business. Looks to be
Awesome.
kind of fun.
That sounds
I
great.
love I love a costume drama sort of horror, so that seemed pretty cool. The other TV show I picked is Castle Rock, which is kind of takes the idea that Castle Rock in the Stephen King universe has got inhabitants. And I think season one has got like some Shawshank Redemption in there. It's got a little bit of, it's got kind of your Stephen King Easter eggs. It has
Yeah.
cast members from previous Stephen King projects. I don't know. I thought it'd be kind of fun to revisit that.
Yeah.
And then the third one is I wanted to go for an anthology and keep it light. So I chose the Hammer House of Horror, which is the TV show produced by the Hammer Studios that is going to be real spoopy scary. Like, if you know Hammer horror, it is very silly 60s. And I think
Yes.
this might be kind of a fun watch, but I've never seen any of it.
No,
And I
no, I
thought,
haven't
what a
either.
good time. Yeah, like, I mean, it seems pretty schlocky, but I kind of like a schlocky horror every once in a while.
All right, I put three on here. One is Hannibal.
Oh my.
From when did this come out? Like 2012?
Yeah.
2011,
I
somewhere
haven't
around there.
revisited this since then.
No, I remember seeing it when it was on the air on the cable
Yeah.
television, but I have not rewatched it since then. But yeah, this is some Hannibal Lecter
Yeah.
backstory. Good times. It
See how far
was
we get in 3 episodes.
I remember it being gross. Like
Uh-huh.
especially like the beauty of the food, the way the food is
Oh
shot
yeah.
is so gorgeous, but knowing what it is, it makes it
Oh
so
yeah.
disgusting.
Yeah.
Um, anyways,
Very
Hannibal,
stylish and beautiful and
very
disgusting.
stylish.
Yeah.
Another one I put on here was one that we've both seen. It was one you had recommended to me, Threads, which is presented as
Oof.
a film
Yep.
on Shudder, but it was actually a BBC miniseries or a British miniseries in the 80s. So I think we would just watch the whole 2-hour film
Yeah.
like we did with um It. Oh no, not It. Well, we did that with It,
Yeah, with
but we
it.
did
Yeah.
V. Remember
Oh
V
yeah,
was
for
a
sure.
TV show, and we just watched the miniseries.
And
And
it's
the
a
la
like hyper realistic look at the at nuclear holocaust.
Yes. Um, less scary and more upsetting.
Oh yeah.
Um, and then the last one I put on here was a Netflix series from 2019 called Mary Ann.
I don't know this one. What is
Um,
this?
okay, kind of a very popular novelist returns to her small, like French town where she grew up and realizes
Oh
that all of
yes.
her stories that she's been
Yes.
writing horror novels of are coming true.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and she's
This
coming
one's come
back.
up before. I think you've put this up on the first three episodes before. This
Um,
one's really intriguing.
I think this is a really good one for first three episodes. I think the latter part of that season fell off for me, but the old woman in those first few episodes is the
Ooh.
scariest thing I've ever fucking seen.
Ooh.
She's so
Okay.
upsetting. Um, so I think this is a really good first three episode type of show too. But all of these sound great. I really want to see
Yeah.
any number of these.
I think we're going from the ridiculous to the sublime. I think
Yeah,
we're kind of covered our spread here.
yeah. All right, so I think it's my turn to roll. So we got
Yeah.
six. We'll go in order. If it's a one, The Terror. Two, Castle Rock. Three, Hammer House of Horror. Four, Hannibal. Five, Thread. Six, Marianne. Here we go. I got a three. That's Hammer House of Horror.
Of course. We're like, oh, these amazing TV shows. Let's watch this super cheesy one. Sorry, not
um,
sorry.
sometimes, sometimes the dice hate you, sometimes they love you, and sometimes you're not sure which one they
I
just
know.
did.
Yeah.
Um, are you, are you fucking me or are you fucking me? And then we're
Uh-huh.
not sure which one the dice are doing today, but I'm excited. Just doing a quick check here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm also
they're all
checking.
available on looks like they're
On Shutter.
on Shutter and Peacock. Um yeah. So we can watch these and Tubi and Pluto TV. You can watch
Oh,
them for free. Okay, so we're going to watch season 1. I think there might just be one
there's only
season.
one season apparently.
And we're going to just watch episodes 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
Does that sound
Sounds like
great?
fun.
It sounds like a blast. 1980
Oh yeah.
Hammer horror shorts. Let's fucking do it. All right. So, thank you all for listening. Thank you, Cecil, for talking with me. And if you have thoughts on the living skeleton or ideas for what's your wild card TV show that you would want to see the first three episodes of, let us know on Instagram at Random Horror 9 or on our Patreon where we have public discussion threads for each and every episode. And you do not need to be a paying member to participate in those discussion threads. So what? So watch the first three episodes of 1980's Hammer House of Horror TV show with us this week and come on back next Tuesday for a new episode. Have a restful night with no ghost women standing in your darkened road or nothing. Boo.